Namaskar. Today we are going to discuss states and stages. This is a very, very critical and important aspect of the entire integral movement and the integral worldview and the integral theory and practice on which this whole Karmyog for 21st Century Fit for Life program is based. I will, of course, spend a lot of time someday in really establishing the connection and the real great thinkers and thought leaders who have inspired this thinking over the ages, from time immemorial to really the times when this kind of thought process had started evolving onto the current great thinkers and thought leaders from in the integral framework who've brought forth this framework, which we are humbly trying to just carry forward. Now, in this thinking, it's a very important concept, the difference between states and stages. And we are going to understand the difference between states and stages, and then we are also going to discuss how this understanding is relevant for the Karmyog for 21st Century Fit for Life program, the sadhana paddhati, or the process that we are creating for taking us through the journey of life, not just one life, but lifetimes after lifetimes of journey that we are in. How it's the sadhana, the daily routine practices that we are designing and actually participating in. How is this connected with the concept of states and stages is what I will explain today. But before I do that, I must mention that the word states and stages is much commonly used and understood in many different ways. The common usage of the word state, as you know, as in United States of America, there are different states in America which unites to become a country called America. So for example, in India we have Bihar, we have Bengal, we have Maharashtra, and so many different states. So similarly in US you have California and New York and so on, different states. So that's the manner in which most people understand states. And then when we talk of stage, then people think of a stage for performance, because these are the most common usages of these words. You perform from a stage. Well, connected with these two, but really very different in meaning. The word state and stage is connected with changes, with transformation. And that's what we are going to discuss today. Because the word state and the word stage is very connected with change. We say change of state or change of stage. That's how we are going to understand and discuss the word state and stage today. In fact, change or transformation is really what this is all about. Life itself is a journey of change and transformation. No one wants to just remain static where they are. Everyone wants to keep evolving and developing. And developing, there is obviously a directionality to this, a direction in which you want to keep evolving. You don't want to go back to those states, those areas or those times where you have left behind, where your experience was not that which was beautiful, which was good, which was true. So our experiences, which are connected with the good, the true, and the beautiful, whenever we experience the integration of these three, whenever we are able to express ourselves through an integration of these three aspects of the good, the true, and the beautiful, we kind of find that very attractive. And we try to keep changing ourselves, keep developing ourselves, keep evolving towards that. And that's really the law of nature. That's how this whole universe is kind of moving. From time immemorial, from absolutely eternal past towards the eternal future. That's the directionality. Now, we as members of this eternal journey, are naturally inclined or attracted to anything that takes us in that direction. So whenever we get a taste of such experience, we kind of undergo a state change. We experience a state of being. Now, that's when I use the word state of being, we are really talking about state in the same way as in physics. When we were studying physics or science, we would have heard of the three states of matter. So, any matter, take water for example, the most common matter that we see around us, we find it in three different states. It's solid as ice, and it's liquid as water, and it's gaseous as water vapor. So these three states of matter shows us what we are talking about when we use the term states. Now these are very interchangeable states. The matter of water keeps changing from water, liquid water, to solid ice to gaseous water vapor all the time. It's there in the refrigerator, in the ice box. It's ice, solid. You take it out and keep it in room temperature. It's become water, and then even if you haven't heated it, it's constantly kind of from the surface. It's going into the gaseous state, and if you apply a little more energy, heat, then obviously it becomes gaseous much faster. That's what's happening in the seas and the oceans and the rivers and the ponds. The water is evaporating and then going into the sky up there, meeting cooler breeze and getting colder regions, turning back into water, dropping from the sky as droplets back again to earth to really irrigate the land and give us these greenery and nature. So this whole cycle of changing from one state to the other is also a great experience of state change that we also experience and we love and we kind of identify with. So state change is this kind of thing, but state change is characterized by the fact that it's not permanent. It's very ephemeral, it's very transient. It keeps going from one to the other. So that's the character of state change. Whereas when something undergoes a stage change, a change of stage, not a change of state, when something undergoes a change of stage, what we mean is that change is much more permanent. It's almost irreversible. We can say it's reversible only by destruction. That stage has to be destroyed. So it's a kind of a permanent change. It's not just a change, physical change, which can be metamorphosed back, but it's really a change of the whole so when a chemical reaction occurs, then a new compound gets formed. Two things mix together and a third new compound gets formed. So those of you who know chemistry, for example, know that if an acid and an alkali kind of combine together, then what gets formed is salt. Now the salt is neither the acid nor the alkali. It's a third new thing. So the acid and the alkali both have undergone a stage change. It's a complete change of state. A new something has got created. It's not just that if you just change the circumstances a bit, it will come back to its acidic or an alkaline state. I mean, these are kind of examples, not exact examples of what I'm talking about, but it will give you a drift of what I'm trying to say, because we are not talking about chemistry here, we are talking about life, because this Karma Yoga for 21st Century's Fit for Life program is all about life. So here we are applying this concept of state change and stage change to life itself. So the very reason why we are engaging in this sadhana paddhati, in this program, is to bring about changes and transformation in our lives. So we must understand what kind of changes are state changes and what kind of changes are stage changes. For example, you may be listening to what I am speaking now, and it might might cause some change in you. We might say, I didn't understand. I mean, every day when we do this session, you might be able to learn something new, or you might be able to look at something from a new, different point of view. Any of these things, when it happens, it creates a new you. When it creates that new you, which didn't exist earlier, there is always that, this evolution, wow, which comes in you, that feeling. Small or big, that may be a feeling. Well, that feeling can come from anything. It need not come from just listening to my speaking. It might come to you by just reading a poetry. It might happen to you by looking at a beautiful picture. It might happen to you, as you kiss your beloved. It might happen to you as you are staring at the sky and the starry nights. When it's a clear sky and you look at the stars and the moon, and you kind of experience the whole universe, and then you experience your own self, your own littleness in this big wide universe, and yet you kind of find an identity for your own small self, and you kind of maybe even feel one with this whole universe, and that feeling is gives you a state experience. It kind of makes you feel a sense of bliss, a oneness. All that might happen, but it's a state of being. It could happen just staring at an ocean. It could happen as you're walking by and you hear a particular bird chirping. What can trigger this feeling cannot be predicted. It's an accident. If you call it enlightenment, call it so, no problem, but it's an accident. You can make yourself accident prone by making it a habit to stare at the sky, or go and watch the ocean, look at the waves, or listen to the birds chirping by, or whatever gives you those kind of experiences. You can make it a habit and make yourself more accident prone so that you can get that experience more and more and more number of times. But that doesn't mean essentially that the accident will happen, and if it happens, you will not slide back. The moment you come back from that staring at the starry night in meditative kind of concentration, and you come back and you switch on the light in your room, and you're back to sansar, your daily grind, your routine life, and there you are unable to actually remain in that state that you were in. That shows that the change that happened was a state change, and it was not a change of stage. But if you continue your sadhana, your practice, and make it a habit, a routine, a daily routine, through this daily grind of process of sadhana, of melting your own self and converting yourself into that different stage of being, it is possible that nothing can bring you back to a different state. No matter where you are, what condition or what situation you find yourself in, you're always behaving, interacting, or participating as that one being that you had experienced. So it's not just about that one being. You could, I mean, there are so many different experiences which enlighten you. You can bring that to your life through sadhana. So that when you do that, then we say that it has caused a stage change in you. Any change actually brings about changes even in our brain system, the brain circuitry, the real neural network, the nervous connections. Those kind of a change happens right there whenever that aha experience happens. So every state experience brings a change there, but whether that change gets cemented or not is unsure. Actually, science is kind of discovering all this, is really being able to understand all this with much more detail as neuroscience gets more advanced. That the changes that happen to your brain when it gets cemented, when it gets permanent, the plasticity of your neurons becomes more stabilized. Then, and on that particular aspect, then you can say it's a stage change that has happened. I'm not going to slide back to that previous stage, at the drop of a hat. It is a stage change. So just like when you're born, and then you are a child, and then you grow up to be a adolescent, and then on to your teens or whatever, a youth, and then from the youth you get into your middle ages, an adult, and middle ages, from middle ages to an old age, senior citizen as they call old age, and then you get into samadhi or die or whatever you may call it, however you experience death. All that, all these cycle of life, as you see, forces stage changes in you. They are not state change of state. Well, you were as a small child, you can experience old age for a moment, and you can, suddenly behave like a very wise old man for a moment, but it will take you all those years to really become that old man or an old woman through, in your entirety, in your tan pran man chit, as they say. So the state change could happen at any time, but stage change takes time, takes sadhana, and sadhana that is continuous, that doesn't end with life itself, it just continues through lifetimes after lifetimes. So it's incorrect for anyone to think that, okay, through this sadhana I will reach a point from where I will be this, and after that I will need no sadhana. I can only teach others, I can only, explain all these things to others, and that will be it. No. Sadhana really means you have to keep at it over and over and over again till eternity, till the cows go home. So that's all for today, my friends. Take it easy and take care. Namaskar.